Hi, my name is Neil Rogers, and it is great to have you for this Train for Influence experience called the Missional Life Practice. Imagine for just a moment that you always wanted to be invited to something, invited to a special VIP event that you've looked forward to all of your life. How would you feel when that invitation shows up at your doorstep? And as you open the envelope and begin to read through it, what emotions would it evoke? What excitement would you have to think about, I get to be a part of this? As followers of Jesus, that is exactly what we've been invited to. We have been invited to be a part of God's mission, to see His glory go out to the entire earth. Over these next 4 weeks, we're going to answer 4 questions about how we can be a part of God's incredible mission. The first is this: what is God's mission? What is it that He's actually doing? In week 2, we'll look at where is God working and which types of people are most open to His pursuit. In week 3, we'll explore how can we actually hear God's voice so we know what it sounds like when He invites us to join Him in His work. And then in week 4, how can I actually join the mission? We'll look at some practical ways that we can engage with God and experience Him working through us to accomplish His work. This is going to be an incredible adventure together, but it's going to open up opportunities to know God in new ways and experience Him differently than we've ever experienced Him before. Our God is a missional God. He is committed to His mission, and He desires for us to join Him as His strategy for actually getting it done. And throughout history, God has used everyday people just like us to help fulfill His mission. Yet while most Christ followers believe this in general, they usually don't really believe it about themselves. They fall prey to thinking, yeah, sure, God wants to use other people to do great things for Him, but I know my own weaknesses, my failures, my limitations. Maybe people feel like I don't have enough faith or I don't know enough Bible for God to really accomplish something great through my life. But that doesn't change God's mission, nor His plans for your life. In fact, if you will submit yourself to Him, He will use you to accomplish His work on the earth. And at Stonegate, we often call this putting your yes on the table. It's our way of saying, I'm in, God, and I want to be a part of your mission. As you do this, God will use you to accomplish His mission, and your faith will grow because you'll experience Him working through you. Well, from the very beginning, God had a mission to restore His creation. He desires that all of the earth will experience His glory. But from the moment sin entered the world, people rebelled against God and this relationship. After leaving the Garden of Eden for almost 2,000 years, people grew more and more self-reliant and further from God. In Genesis 11, we see them rally together against God, building a tower up towards heaven. They thought this would prove once and for all, we don't need God. But as a result of their rebellion, God brought division between people and scrambled their languages and disseminated them throughout all of the lands. And that devastating effect of sin still exists today. Divisions of all types separate people and prevent billions from learning about God's great mission. And meanwhile, people continue to rebel against God's invitation to experience His glory. And the impact continues to be devastating for all of creation. But even after the people rebelled at Babel, God still continued His mission. He would restart with a special people that He would covenant together with. They would be His people, and He would be their God. Through this relationship, all of the nations on earth would be impacted. When God started pursuing a people for Himself, He started with a simple invitation to a great adventure. In Genesis 12, 1-3, He pursued a man to lead these people named Abram. And God gave Abram a command, and then He made a promise that He is still keeping in our day today. I want you to take a few minutes and read through this invitation together. And then I want you to answer the following questions about God and Abram. Abram said yes, and he joined God's mission. And God would use Abram to rekindle his plan to bless all of the people on the earth and let them experience his glory. The rest of the Bible, from Genesis 12 on, is a story about how God both kept and continues to keep the promise that he made to Abram. God's desire is to bless everyone on earth through the lineage of this one man, even to the point of sending his very own son, born into Abram's ancestry, to provide a once and for all way for all people to be reconciled to him. And this is the mission of God that he invites us to today, that all peoples on earth will be blessed. And this includes people from every language, geography, social construct, ethnic background, and economic status. It includes children and families, young and old. And God continues to prove himself faithful to his promise. And someday we will all see it fulfilled. Take a few moments to read the following passages from Revelations and celebrate with the angels and the heavenly hosts as they sing praise to the Lamb. As you read these two passages, what stands out to you? Take a few moments to imagine together what you're going to experience on that day. What will you see? What will the sounds be like? Can you even imagine the joy that we will all experience? This is an incredible story. It's a story of God's never-ending faithfulness, His mercy, His justice, and His love. And you might be asking, where do I fit into this story? If God is working out His mission, what is my part? And what does He even expect from me? Over the last 40 years, many Christ followers have been able to answer this question through a study called Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby. And this study has been foundational for the faith of many right here in this fellowship too. For the next few sessions, we will explore some of the points from Experiencing God and learn more about God's mission and how we can join Him. So here's the first point. God is constantly at work, pursuing a love relationship with people that is both real and personal. As God accomplishes His mission, He is always pursuing a love relationship with people. And He always utilizes other people in His pursuit of people, including when He pursued you. In my own life, I remember back in the 3rd grade, I remember I was in the Sandow Sunday school class, and I can still see her big black beehive hairdo and his tweed jackets. When the Sandows talked about Jesus, their eyes danced. They talked about Jesus like He was a friend who they really knew. In junior high and high school, Tom Higgins, who had been a chaplain in the military, he would talk about Jesus like as if he had just had lunch with Him. He actually would discuss, this is what I feel like God is showing me and how I get to be a part of the work that He's doing on the earth. By college and as a young married, Brad Pettit came into my life and began to show me how to take Jesus into every part of my life, my relationships. Brad knew how to take Jesus to work with Him and live in a way that honored Him in every single aspect of life. All of these people were powerful people who God used to show me more of who He is and His mission that He's accomplishing. So I want you to take a few moments and write down the names of some of the people God has utilized when He pursued a loved relationship with you. Take a few minutes and discuss your answers with your group. Man, I'm sure you talked about some amazing people. And for some of you, their influence in your life was many, many years ago, yet you still remember their impact today. You even remember their name and where you were. So whether they realized it or not, these people were living a missional life, joining God in His pursuit of a love relationship with other people, namely you. What did it take for these people to be used by God? Well, first, they had to have their eyes open to the fact that God is at work, and then be willing to join Him in that work. They put their yes on the table, and they joined God in His mission. And God honored their decision, both in their lives and in yours. So here's the big question. If God used these others to pursue you, why wouldn't He want to use you as He pursues others?
My name is Ehsan Khoujani, and I am originally from Iran and currently live in Midland, Texas. I was born and raised in a Muslim family back in Iran, and I was 8 years old when I went to my mom and asked her a question about God. And I said, what is it that we're looking after? What are we doing here? What is life? She told me, a long story of how Islam is from God and how Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet of God and we have to obey them, everything that they say. I went to my dad and I asked same sets of questions and his answers were completely different. He was more agnostic, and I can say pretty much I was lost in between both of these ideas. And every time I asked someone, they told me, no, you're not supposed to ask these questions. Why are you so curious about these things? You just follow everything that Muhammad and Islam tells you. I decided, well, maybe it's better for me to have another girlfriend, another pack of cigarettes, another bottle of whiskey, another party, another holiday. I was sitting down in one of my friend's show. He was playing in it. And I was watching his play, and then this guy next to me said, hey, do you want to go outside with me and smoke? I said, yes, let's go outside. So we went outside, and as we were smoking, he reached out for his pocket, and he grabbed the Bible, and he wrote his number on the first page, and he gave it to me and said, hey, why don't you give it a try? Why don't you read this book? And I said, what is it? He said, this is Bible. I said, no, I'm not really interested. And in fact, if there is God, we should punish him because of this stupid creation. And he looked at me and said, we punished him 2,000 years ago on a cross, but not because he's stupid, because we made the stupid mistakes and he loved us in return. So that statement hit me right in my face. And I said, I don't know anything about Christianity nor about God, but if what just he told me now about God is real, I want to find out if that's true or not. I started reading. 72 hours later, I finished the whole Bible, sitting still on the edge of my bed, praying, crying. I didn't know anything about Christianity. I didn't know anything about God. Yet I could feel every page that I turned that there was somebody inside of the book trying to reach out to me and give me a hug and tell me I love you. My story is one out of millions. They haven't heard about, the gospel. And to have that, translated Bible in their mother tongue that people can read and understand that God is after them and God loves them, it's pretty special.
Take some time this week to thank God for the people that He has used in His love relationship pursuit of you. Then go one giant step further. This week, I want you to send a text, write a letter, or call one of these people and thank them for the impact that they have had in your life. Also, share their story, the story of their impact with somebody who's close to you, like your friend or your child. Then finally, Spend some time talking this week with God about how to put your yes on the table. Be honest with Him about your desires, your fears, your concerns of what it may cost, and ask Him to start to help you realize where He's at work, fulfilling His mission so that you can join Him there. Make sure to be ready throughout the week with a journal or this notebook so that you can write down the things that God shows you, because you're not going to want to forget them. This week, we got to learn about what is God's mission. Next week, we'll learn more about how to actually be a part of looking for those people that He is pursuing. See you next week.